Hey guys, welcome. It is Roots to Grooves. I'm Jesse. Sitting across from me is Jay. You know it's Roots to Grooves.
Welcome along, everybody.
How are you doing, Jay?
Pretty good. Wrapping my head around this new artist that we are talking about this week.
You just heard him, opening track. Our intro track. That wasn't the opening track off of the album, but we're talking about Holydrug Couple.
Yeah, an Atlantic Postcard off of their album Moonlust. 2015 is when that came out. Not their first album. Where is that in their discography?
Late, middle. About
Okay.
the middle.
Yeah.
That's where I discovered them also. That album's called Moonlust.
Okay. Yeah.
That came up on my comings and goings. I don't know. YouTube or Spotify or just somebody told me. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, because I haven't come across them at all. I'm like, yeah, it's just from your listening habits suggested to you maybe somehow, something like that. Yeah.
Just deep in there on like a playlist or like an artist radio that
Okay.
is playing for hours, and then
Yeah.
it eventually gets like further and further away from what you were originally listening to.
Down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that, and then eventually Holydrug Couple came up, and I think it was that song or maybe one of the other ones.
It caught your ear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just like that song we played, I mean, it still catches my ear.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're talking about Holydrug Couple. This is like an indie rock,
Yeah.
psychedelic rock band.
Psycho.
Psychodelic.
Psychedelic.
That's getting too scary. I mean, yeah. What else could you call them as far as I mean, dream pop, psychedelic pop.
Yeah. I mean, psychedelic rock is how everyone describes them. There are even like specific psychedelic music blogs out there that have specifically interviewed and written about them. They themselves, I think, as a lot of artists do, shy away from being categorized in a genre or pigeonholed or whatever. But as we'll get into later, like some of their inspirations wouldn't necessarily lead you to think of psychedelic music. But
Right.
But that's what I get. And when I very first listened to their first album, first track, I was getting heavy Pink Floyd vibes off of that.
Right.
There's no vocals, right? It's just all.
They do have some vocals
Yeah.
in some of their tracks, but I mean, I think they started instrumental though.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was listening to, I think.
Right.
That. Yeah. Just some of like the drum beats and that are very Pink Floydy.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%.
Yeah.
I think they are inspired by some old bands. I know one of these guys. I mean, Nirvana was another influence. Yeah, I don't know. I think I had a list, but I didn't write them down.
But before we get too far ahead, it's a duo.
That's right.
And they are from Santiago, Chile.
Thank you, Jay, for bringing us back home. We're talking about Ives. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce these names. I'm saying up front, Ives or Ives.
I saw it as Ives.
Is it Ives?
But I don't know. I haven't said it.
No, you're probably right.
Heard it pronounced anywhere. So.
I haven't either. We mean no disrespect.
Yeah.
We love you guys, but Ives Sepúlveda.
Yes.
It's the best I can do, guys. And then Manuel Parra.
Yeah, Manuel Parra.
Manny
Parra.
Yeah. But
We've Americanized your name. Sorry, guys.
Parra.
Parra. Oh,
Manny Parra.
Sounds like a baseball player.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
the 50s
Up
or
to bat,
something.
Manny Parra. So it's a duo, psych rock.
It might.
They're out of Chile.
Yeah, it might be the first artist that we've done from this area of the world, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, I think.
I think
I'm trying
so.
to rack my brains now, but yeah.
No, mostly we've done Australia, the US, England,
Japan.
or Europe. We've hit Japan.
We've hit Korea-ish.
Yeah, ish. But I mean, we're really stepping out of our Rooster Grooves bounds and going to South America today.
That's great. They are based in Santiago.
Yeah, Santiago, Chile.
And they've been releasing music though now. They got a US record label, right? I think they have a record label in Chile and a US label that signed them up, which allowed them to come out of home and tour around. I don't know, have they been to America, Europe? Have they gone worldwide on their touring or?
I'm not sure. I think mostly in the US.
Okay.
I think they had kind of a following
US,
in Chile, and I think there's a little bit of a scene down there with like psych rock.
Yeah, they said that. Yeah, overall, I think they have a lot bigger fan base in the US for some reason.
And we'll talk about it a little bit more in a bit, but they got hooked up with this record label, and then they got a bigger following in the U.S. than they do in Chile.
Yeah.
So they're doing really well, and they got fans up here in the U.S. and people come to their shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll talk about it, but they were kind of surprised that people know them so well up here.
Yeah.
So they got some, their music's up in the U.S. market.
Yeah.
I think, and they have done a lot of touring and stuff, although I don't know, like completely worldwide.
Right. Yeah.
They're pretty kind of underground type energy band.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
they're doing really cool stuff, which is why I wanted to bring them up.
Yeah, they've had a lot of albums.
Yeah.
Since 2011, all the way up through 2018. Right?
Pretty good output for how long they've been around.
Yeah, and we'll talk about their progression of their style and approach to music and everything like that as we go. But yeah, super underground group.
Yeah.
Interesting name as well. The Holydrug Couple. Mm-hmm. I think they said they picked it because it sounded cool, but it doesn't actually mean anything to them.
Okay.
I think that's what they said.
It is a cool name.
Yeah.
Holydrug.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a cool word. It looks good.
Yeah.
And then couple.
Yeah.
It just adds another layer to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it means too, but I don't know. I love the look of Holydrug, and it rolls off the tongue nice.
Yeah.
So I think A+ hit a home run with the name.
And couple because they said because we're two Chicos. I hope I got that translation right because I translated this from a French article into English.
Ooh, that could have gone bad.
So it was a French website interviewing these. They speak Spanish in
I believe they
Chile?
speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Or you're right. I don't know what but I think it's Spanish.
Yeah.
Or some iteration.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're just exercising our ignorance and
This is
lack
why
of research.
Exactly.
So I think these guys love Nirvana. They love like Virgin Suicides. They based in Santiago, formed in 2008.
Yeah.
But they cultivated a drifting kind of almost sometimes bluesy sound with guitars, like weaving gentle melodies with guitars, and they got into some synths as we heard on that first track a little bit later. But repetitive, tapestries of guitars, drums, and vocals and bass.
Yeah.
Rock band setup.
Yeah.
I brought these guys in because they're super DIY.
Yeah.
Then they are on a label now, but they just kind of love music and they just started doing it, and they're here doing it still.
Yeah.
So just for that reason alone, I wanted to look deeper into what these guys are up to.
Yeah.
And how they were able to get a following, get fans up here.
Yeah.
Countries, on a different continent.
Right.
So impressive, but I really like the music. They have a lot of different stuff.
Should get a bit more of a taster of their sound.
100%. And then let's dive on in and see what else we got on these guys.
Yeah.
Holydrug Couple, guys.
This track is called Flow from their first album, Or. And I know my accent is a bit weird, so that's AWE, Or. Yeah, that was one of the shorter songs from that album, Or. How would you pronounce that album title? Or? Am I saying it right? It sounds wrong anyway, I say it. Yeah, that was the first album I listened to when you first listened to them, mentioned them to me.
Nice.
Got that it's very psychedelic.
But that gives you good taste of where they're coming from.
Drifty, yeah. They said it was all recorded just with drums, guitar, a few droney keyboard sounds, all in Ives' bedroom, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying Ives. You say Ives, and we'll be good.
Meet in the middle. Hopefully, we're not offending.
Yeah.
Holydrug Couple.
Yeah. Because they don't have a lot of press out there, is one thing to say about them.
Yeah.
You can go on YouTube, and there's a lot of good live performance clips out there, like some longer sessions, some older clips as well. There is a podcast or a radio show, 55 minutes in Spanish. If you speak Spanish, I think you might be able to listen to that and get a lot of more insight from them. But for English speakers and for us here in the US, they don't have a lot of press out there, at least not on the internet. There's like a lot of blogs that have been writing about them. There's a lot of album reviews from like the usual places you would expect, Ear Milk,
right,
stuff like that. But yeah, no like on-camera interviews in English that I've seen.
Right. No, I didn't see any either, which is surprising, I guess. Maybe because they don't speak English. Is that why?
I think they do speak English.
I think they do too, because I think they have English lyrics.
Yeah.
But
I think
I even came across written interviews in Spanish.
Yeah, I think it's probably like two things. Like one is, I mean, to get press, someone has to make that happen, right? So, I mean, they do have a US label here, but I think they're a pretty indie label, right?
Yeah.
Small thing. Also, I think they do spend a lot of time back home in Santiago. They don't really, they like come out and tour and that, but when they even got signed to this US label and didn't meet any of those guys in person until they came over for like 3 weeks. And they said, I think this label's based in New York, and they took them out to a bunch of bars, and they said they're really great people. It's like family. They're really nice kind of thing. These guys, Holydrug Couple, strike me as just being very friendly, nice people.
That's again very likable.
Yeah.
Like they just really love music, and they're just down to earth, chill people.
Yeah.
And just doing it all themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, for these reasons, I like these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, where'd these guys come from? I know they met about 2008.
Yeah. So they both met in a place in Chile called Piche. I'm going to try and get this pronunciation correct. Pichelemu.
Okay.
Which is like a coastal place. It's really famous for its surfing. Both these guys surf, and that's how they met. He's had a holiday home down in this town. And Parra is from an area of Chile called Santa Cruz, but he was down in Pichimelu surfing, and that's how they met. They were both in college at this time.
Cool.
And just got to know each other. And I think it was just through surfing and then being down there, and then they didn't really connect for a few years. Like I think Parra knew that Ives did music. And at a certain point, Parra like got a drum kit. He like got back in contact with Ives and was like, "Hey, I got a drum kit." Like, and
I had that. They hadn't seen each other in years.
Yeah.
And then Manny texted Ives. I'm sorry, so sorry. I hope I'm pronouncing that okay. And Manny texted Ives to tell him that he bought a drum kit, which is just kind of cute. Like man, like I'm excited. Like, do you want to make music with me?
Yeah.
That's so cool. And so they started jamming, and within a week they formed a band.
Yeah, they just decided to do it. Yeah.
And then they've been going over a decade since.
Yeah.
But they started making music in 2008. I misspoke a second ago. They knew each other before then.
Right. Yeah.
Like 5 years. Started making music in 2008.
That's when they reconnected.
Yes.
2008. Yeah.
And then they didn't release their first album, Awe, until 2011.
Right.
So, but here we are getting started. And these guys are completely DIY. Like, he just got a drum set. I was reading interviews and stuff. They're like, he's like, I wake up, I'm laying in my bed, record some stuff.
Yeah.
Go to a party later.
Yeah.
And that's just like a very basic, chill bedroom production band.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't really know, or I guess none of us really know too much about the scene out there. like from the way they're describing the area that they live in Santiago is, well, first of all, they said it's a smaller city versus like Mexico City or somewhere like that. He said it's so small that you kind of know everyone. Like if you go to like enough clubs and live music venues, you start bumping into the same people, kind of thing, which is crazy. And there was, I read something else about like what is kind of like the most popular music in Chile right now, and something that Ives said as well was he seems to think a lot of like bad romantic music and like rock pop, and then some other article I was reading was saying that the mainstream seems to be, they do have like these rappers and sort of young artists, but they all seem to be like in their 20s, and it's like a very different, you know, vibe of what's mainstream there.
Right.
But at the same time, Ives and that in Santiago are going out to all these parties, all these underground parties that, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of psych rock, there's a lot of experimental music, there's a lot of like electronic music, DJs and things happening out there. And
Yeah.
they're both able to go out and sort of experience the scene at night, and then, yeah, be at home
And then try to create it.
and try and create it. Yeah, when
in
they
the
get out
day.
there. Yeah.
But very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can imagine the feel. Like, I want to just go out, walk around Santiago,
Yeah.
and like check out some cool psych rock bands in Chile.
Yeah.
Sounds fun to me.
And so the first time came out on Bym Records, which is a Chilean psych rock label from Santiago. How much more specific can you get than that, really?
That was the perfect label for them.
Yeah, Blow Your Mind Records. There you go. No, that's, yeah, Bym. Blow.
Is that it? Blow your mind?
Yeah.
Nice.
My mind is blown.
The psychedelic stuff is getting to us.
Yeah, well, maybe we shouldn't have done those mushrooms before we started.
We thought it would
this
be
episode,
fun,
man. We
but
thought
now
it
it's
would be
getting
like,
weird.
Now it's getting weird. Yeah, and they got a lot of like artists that I've never heard on this label. They're all from Santiago. So many different releases that they have there. You can go to bymrecords.com and check all that out. That's gonna be a treasure trove of
That's what I'm saying.
from Santiago. Wow, that's like maybe a sample library kind of thing for some producers out there to go check out. Yeah, don't tell anyone.
This is
That's our secret. Yeah.
But yeah, so that came out 2011. It was, I saw that it was mixed with, it was with BYM, but it was also self-released.
Right.
So
Okay, yeah.
I think they helped with some publishing and stuff, but
Yeah,
it wasn't like a full label provided with the art and
I think sometimes this
distribution.
it's usually fuzzy for artists, like with first releases, right? Because sometimes a lot of the artists we've talked about, they've like released it themselves, and then they've subsequently got a deal and had it re-released.
And that's the only reason anybody knew about it, or that
Yeah.
label knew about it, because they released it themselves.
Yeah.
So good on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yves said he recorded everything in his room.
Yeah.
This is a quote. I'm going to read it for us.
Yeah.
I recorded everything in my room. The first record, we recorded it live. I tracked it on reel to reel. Manny and myself recorded at the same time. They recorded at the same time. We went for a very purist sound with one guitar, drums, some keyboard drones, and maybe a few overdubs.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know, just really psychedelic, just kind of dreamy. Dreamy, period.
I think they're really into, or Ives definitely is into having control over the recording process. I mean, in this day and age, I think it's easy to, if you just need a computer, really, and an audio interface. But they recorded on reel-to-reel tape, like for the first album, which just is an unnecessary layer of
That's
complexity, right?
Yeah.
And he has all these old microphones that he goes and finds at flea markets in Chile as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's what they use to record on. And yeah, really, I guess originally, like coming from jamming to writing music, stripped down kind of instrumentation. But as they've progressed, he said that Ives said that they're getting more into songwriting and composing versus jamming kind of thing, and being more structured about what they're doing. And I think you can hear it because like the first album is very like dreamy, like we used all of these descriptors just now.
No, but the same thing. Like,
yeah,
no, not structured.
yeah,
just more loose, like they're jamming, and they really were.
yeah.
And they have these ideas, and they're in their room, like, okay, let's do this live.
Yeah.
Get a take.
Yeah.
And they were just learning how to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, they are interested in more structure. And as you go through these albums, you could feel the albums getting more structured.
Yeah.
And just kind of better.
Yeah.
Communicating the music better to the audience.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of a different thing, but we're talking about psychedelic music here, and they do a very good job of getting that across in their early work.
Yeah.
So it's very good. After that first release, they signed with Sacred Bones, and that is a American record label.
Yeah.
I think they're out of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brooklyn based, and then so in 2009 this happened.
Right.
And they hooked up with them because Sacred Bones just sent them a message, I think, on MySpace out of the blue.
Wow. Okay.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Quote, "Hey guys, do you want to release an album with us?"
Yeah.
I guess that was the message.
Yeah.
And this is Ives speaking. He said, "Of course, but you have to wait because I want to re-record the first EP. I thought that my demos weren't sounding good enough, so we went back and recorded on them, and then we sent off the tapes the next year."
Right.
To Sacred Bones.
Yeah.
Quote continues, "We're always talking through emails, and after they released the EP, they told us we can make an LP and they can release it in December or January.
Right.
And they told them when to send it out. From that May until the last day that Ives had to send it in, he was working on it until the last day."
Yeah.
So just super cool how that was going on. That was like 2007, 2008. I mean, this is 2009, but I mean, MySpace was still going in 2009 or what?
Yeah. Just about.
I guess.
Clinging on
Barely.
to itself because,
that might have been the last message.
Because, before Facebook stole its thunder, Facebook was just only available for people in colleges.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I remember being on a waiting list for Facebook. And like now, it's like, why? Now I'm like, I want to.
It was so cool. You were on a waiting list.
Now I want to delete my account.
Yeah,
I was on a waiting list.
You're on a wait list for it to be deleted now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's probably how they'd have it go.
But Sacred Bones is an obscure kind of label. I was just kind of looking through some of their back catalogue. I don't recognize any of these artists, although they have put out a couple of David Lynch things.
Oh, yeah?
And a couple of John Carpenter things, because, John Carpenter being the horror movie director that also makes music. I'm pretty hot. I'm like 50% confident in saying that right now. Like,
I believe it.
Yeah, which is, I don't know if they're directly in contact with him or doing reissues, but it's an interesting label that we should dive into and see what all these artists are about.
Yeah,
on here, Sacred Bones Records.
Yeah, let us know if you know anything about Sacred Records.
Yeah.
Or what is it called? Sacred what? Sacred Bones.
Sacred Bones
and their records.
Yeah.
So yeah. Moving on. Ancient Land EP.
Yeah.
Comes out.
Yeah.
It's 20 minutes long. I don't know. I think this was the one he was talking about re-recording.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it came out again or whatever.
Yeah, there's two versions on Spotify of the track Ancient Land. One is like 7 minutes something. The other one's 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Like.
So again, I don't know the intimate details of why they did that or what happened exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a little bit more quote about what Ives was saying about this though. I think he was still on reel to reel. He said, "I couldn't go wrong because if you do another take on the same tape, you start to lose the fidelity." Or, I mean, he was describing the first one was reel to reel, blah, 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 blah. You start to lose the fidelity. You can do one take, maybe two, but that was it. My friend that was recording us didn't have as much free time as I wanted. I'd ask him, "Hey man, I can record tomorrow in the afternoon?" And he'd say, "No, I can't do it." So Ives was saying it was done in a real rush and not on Holydrug's schedule. And so now they had a little bit more control. I think what they were talking about was they were starting to use a computer.
You think so? Yeah.
I think so.
Tape. Yeah.
And furthermore, they talk about it even more. I'm referencing an interview I read.
Yeah.
So I hope I have some of the facts correct, but eventually they started using computers at some point and they really liked it. And one of them was saying, cause they could just have complete control and he could drink or whatever and just like party or whatever and then come back the next day and re-record that just that one part.
Oh yeah. I think
how valuable that was for him.
Yeah, you're right, because I think he went to, since they introduced computers, he said he's gone from like what you were just saying about like how you lose fidelity if you do more than one take to like, 50 takes
on the same
one guitar.
physical tape.
Yeah, but on the computer he does like 50 takes. Yeah, like you're saying, he'll come back drunk or whatever, lay something down. And like,
I mean, so he was kind of like speed going through this music creation process. Like people in the 70s, like our best option is a reel to reel,
right,
or 4-track, whatever.
Yeah.
And then discovering Pro Tools and overdubbing and starting your project with a blank slate in Pro Tools or another DAW.
Yeah.
Just a completely different kind of vibe.
Although, back in the day though, like when I first had Logic, and like in 1999, it's before Apple bought it, so it was eMagic Logic, which was this German company. eMagic came with this little binder, physical black binder that was the user manual.
You read it?
Yeah, no, but the guy that set it up for me said you should read it cover to cover, because he did. And I was like, okay. I was like,
I'll get right on that.
I just watched him use it instead. I was like, I got it. But yeah, if your computer wasn't fast enough, it would crap out after a few tracks.
Oh, right.
And especially if you're adding plugins like reverb and stuff like that. So even back in early, I mean, these guys are later, they're like mid 2010s, right, doing this stuff. So it would have been better. But yeah, even I had like a G4. I upgraded from a PC to a Apple G4 that was like fancy at the time. But it was still like Logic would crash or like stutter.
Still,
like, it was like, oh, okay, I'll just have these 3 tracks then, I guess, and like I'll remove the reverb.
Yeah.
I
hate that.
the limitations of which is something we don't mention about, but it's gotten obviously better now. Like it depends. If you're trying to like put 20 tracks on like a MacBook Air, it's probably gonna fuck up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The struggles
are real.
Well, it's cool to see all these artists though go through the same thing. It's not just like you in your apartment, random listener.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, my computer never works. Why doesn't Pro Tools work for me?
Yeah.
It doesn't work for anybody.
No.
None of this stuff works for any of these artists, and all of these artists are always struggling with it as well.
Yeah. Same Control Alt Delete issues.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game since the 70s till today.
Yeah.
Technology issues.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anyway, I don't know. These guys are doing their thing. This label helps them go on tour in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So they get a fan base up here. They got an audience up here, and
yeah, they've played like some psych rock festivals, right? Something like, I think I can't remember the name of it, but there's one that was like a new psych rock festival. I think it was like in Texas or Chicago.
I was gonna say I think it was Texas.
Texas, yeah.
I mean, there was multiple though, but they're all up in that.
I think it's a
psych rock scene
is what's happening, because I think a lot of these artists like Unknown Mortal Orchestra, which has been mentioned in a few of their interviews.
I saw that as well.
Dive, I think, is being sort of like lumped in with this sort of new sort of psych rock movement kind of thing, and there's an appetite for it now, I think, with like a lot of like listeners in the US. I mean, shit, you couldn't do a whole festival if there wasn't like a whole load of people that are into it, right? Like,
no, it's been coming up.
Yeah.
And kind of what these guys were talking about is, I mean, these bands like Unknown Mortal Orchestra, they mentioned, like you just said, huge bands like Tame Impala are very popular right now. And
they're like mainstream, but I wouldn't, I guess it's psych. I don't know. That wouldn't be my first descriptor of Tame Impala, but I don't know.
As psychedelic?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And these guys have also mentioned it. And I was going to bring this up. Yeah. Because the term psychedelic, and these guys are talking about like, it's not just like psychedelic, like mushrooms and stuff, but it's a more grand thing. Like it's like postmodern, like genre mashing. Like you're allowed to just create more free rather than feeling like you have to create a specific genre.
I think this is exactly what Keki Goku and Mayo said, right? Because in our episode about them, they were saying that to them, psychedelic didn't mean drugs. Like it wasn't about the drug. Like we think about it like 60s acid, LSD, whatever sometimes. But like for them in Japan, it was more of a like a mood or a, like what you're saying, like a free form experimental. That's what it means to them.
Like being allowed to try something new.
Yeah.
Or incorporate something new.
Yeah.
Let me read a little bit of this because I think it's super cool that they're thinking about things like this. Ives says, punk rock is about having a discourse about something. Psychedelic music for me is about sensitive and intelligent stuff. Deer Hunter, he mentions, played last night. They are more of a psychedelic band. They create these landscapes that have beautiful melodies. So it's like he's talking about this psychedelic comeback and the freedom of making music. He's talking about like in the 90s, it was a more corporate way of making music, like with MVT. Wow, oh my goodness! Let me take a step back.
What you were saying words right now?
I just got on I just had a stroke or something. MTV.
It's the mushrooms, man.
I know. We shouldn't have taken those, Jay. But MTV and Nirvana. So it was kind of like a corporate selling thing, like, oh, grunge, buy these grunge t-shirts, buy these band, like it was a scene for corporate interest, right? But like millions and millions of dollars were put into it, and it was like a business is what
commercialized.
It's commercialized, exactly. And so Ives is talking about all this stuff, like the world of making music, and if it's good, people are going to listen. And a lot of it's about word of mouth. So the new psychedelic movement for Ives is about youth culture and freedom, doing whatever you want. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's such a more grand idea than, LSD.
Right.
Like, oh, psychedelics.
Yeah.
That's just like such a closed-minded, like, drugs. What does that even mean to music?
Yeah, so I think it's like a hangover, right, of the 60s, like, because like, especially like I think here in the US and the UK as well, psychedelic music has always been associated with psychedelics,
right? And when it's not necessarily synonymous.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
psychedelia and music is about like thinking free and trying new things.
Yeah,
and opening up your mind. Yeah, generally.
Which is like, I guess there's parallels there though, because I had never done psychedelics, but people apart from the mushrooms I'm on right now.
This is the first time.
Yeah, no.
It's about to hit.
Well, so like a lot of people say about psychedelics is it does like open up your eyes and your mind to seeing new things, and that's the one parallel I think about when you talk about psychedelic music, achieving that same thing through music versus a drug. Music is a drug, That's
a great way to put it.
Yeah,
that's a very great way to put it. Very succinct.
And I mean,
thank you for saying that.
I just thought about that just now. I feel very smart now.
It was good. It was good.
Something Ives did say about psychedelic music, though. I have a quote. I don't listen to modern psych bands because most of those bands are all the same. You hear the jazz master, which is a guitar, with reverb in the intro and a Farfisa keyboard, and that's like the most boring thing in the world to me.
Yeah.
I'm interested in more. I love the Beatles, the first Pink Floyd album, but I also love Madonna, Chemical Brothers, ABBA, Bowie, T-Rex, Lou Reed. I don't know. It's becoming a cliche and a commodity, so they can sell you a denim jacket with an eye stitched into it or hair dye. That last part of my comment there didn't make any sense because it was in context of what you were saying earlier about the commercialization of grunge music and Nirvana and all that. Yeah,
commercialization, selling clothes.
Yeah, but but he's basically saying he doesn't. He's not really sort of hip to the new genre of psych music, and he's not really. I mean, I guess that's a normal thing, I think, for a lot of artists that are creating music, like new what do they call it, chill wave and stuff like that. We've covered some artists that have been lumped into chill wave, but it's not like they were doing that on purpose. It wasn't like they were listening to a bunch of chill wave and then tried to make chill wave. Not yet. That will happen in the future, I think. But But chill wave is like a new genre that has come out of people listening to other older references, sort of thing.
And then incorporating that to their modern.
Yeah, and I think the same with like modern psych music is like these bands. There's a lot of them coming around, but they're not listening to each other. They're listening to their older references.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what's creating this music. In the future, people will be listening to like these bands
stuff. Yeah.
And then the cycle of influence is crazy. Like. And generations and then and then you just leave a trail of music behind you anyway. It's all there forever. Hopefully, doesn't get lost.
No, totally. I mean, it's cool because you create this music, you create this content, but you're leaving a story for these new people to find the breadcrumbs to be able to do what those people did.
Yeah, because if you, like, maybe in the future, 20 years from now, you'll come back and you'll be listening to the Holydrug Couple as influences, but then through them, you'll explore, hopefully, maybe if they do some more press,
yeah,
explore more of their influences. Like, one big influence that Ives talked about was Primal Scream. Have you heard of them?
Yes, I've heard of them, but I'm not familiar.
There's this one album they did in 1991 called Screamadelica. And he said he's obsessed by this album. He listens to it from beginning to end over and over all the time. Like one of his favorite.
It sounds like an album I would not like.
You think so?
Is there...
Should we hear a little bit of it to see what it's like?
Yeah, it's a teaser. I'll be down for a teaser.
I'll start out with the first track, Moving On Up. This is probably old. I'm going to guess this is like old sounding. It's 1991. So you've heard this before, right? I didn't realize.
Yeah, I've heard the Rolling Stones before.
Is this a cover?
No, it sounds exactly like a Rolling Stone.
Oh,
it sounds like Mick Jagger.
Yeah, there's.
Maybe it
does. Shit.
Just what is it that you want to do?
Well, we want to be free.
This is a snippet
we want to
of
be
Loaded.
Free to do what we want to do. And we want to get loaded. And we want to have a good time. And that's what we're going to do.
Well, when, baby? Let's go.
We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a party.
You heard this one? This is. I randomly clicked on this, but I know this as well. This is a.
Do you recognize this?
Yeah. I think this is a big hit for them. Although it's a 7-minute long album track. They might have done a radio version.
No comment.
Let's just skip ahead. Yeah. It's interesting that he picks this album. I mean, I will say, yeah, Primal Scream were pretty big in the UK when I was growing up.
Okay.
They were like you heard the Stone Roses?
Same thing. Heard of them.
Precursor.
Band?
Precursor. I just remembered the word I was trying to think of on the Japanese breakfast episode.
That was the word.
That was the word.
We got it.
2 episodes later.
Thank goodness.
Precursor. Okay. It was a precursor. She wrote those essays as a precursor to her book. That makes sense, right?
Okay, yeah. We were like preface,
yeah.
prologue.
Oh my God. It's been bugging me for 3 weeks. Precursor.
Okay, that feels good. We got that off our chest.
Yeah, Primal Scream, they've been very influential to a lot of bands in the UK that came after them. I think even Oasis in a certain way. And Kasabian, have you heard of Kasabian? No, okay. Throwing lots of weird British bands that you haven't heard of. Yeah, but I guess this is kind of like 90s mixture of indie rock and sample drum machine type stuff. So anyway.
Okay.
Ives from Holydrug Couple is really into that album. So there you go.
I mean, it does sound weird. It's not like, that doesn't sound like a psychedelic album that would be like inspiring this psychedelic synth rock that we're talking about.
That's the interesting thing. Yeah, it's like he's pulling inspirations from. I mean, we only played like a couple of things off of that. There's probably maybe some other tracks that. But I think one thing that Ives says is he's a general music listener. He listens to a lot of different music. Like he even said in there, Madonna and all that. I think it doesn't necessarily mean he's pulling direct influences from all of it into his own music.
And not just sonic influence, but
yeah.
production influence.
Yeah.
Or just kind of general vibe influence.
Yeah.
Or, you know, whatever, placement of panning and all this stuff. So
a
lot of stuff you can learn from, even stuff you don't like.
For sure, yeah. Mixing ideas, techniques.
Yeah. Inspiration in general.
Yeah.
But let's get a couple of these other albums I want to talk about real quick. The next one comes out, Noctuary. Noctuary.
Noctuary.
Yeah, was it Noctuary or Noctuary?
I would say Noctuary.
When did that come out, Jay?
I don't know how to speak English. It came out in...
Neither do I.
2013.
So 2013.
On Sacred Bones.
So this is the one I was talking about where he didn't want to be limited by like reel to reel.
Oh, okay.
And he was able to explore more with, I don't know what DAW it was, but a computer, with tracks, modern DAW.
Yeah.
So he first recorded 15 demos and he played just the instrumentals of all the demos, I think almost by himself. And it was Ives. And then he showed them all to Manuel. I'm going with Manny, hope that's okay. And Manny recorded all the drums. Yeah. And then they took all those tracks to Ives' bedroom and they finished them.
Right.
So I don't know where exactly this stuff is happening because I think he does most of the stuff in his bedroom. Yeah. But it sounds like maybe they had to go track the drums somewhere else.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Yeah. For just a small bedroom kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Recorded them all in the bedroom. It was winter in Chile, and so Ives was in a melancholic mood. Sorry for the sirens. Yeah. So rude. He was in a melancholic mood, so he was just like sleeping and recording, and he recorded the rest of the tracks there in his bedroom. So this reporter was asking him about these questions, recording it digitally on this album. And so Ives says, yeah, I recorded some guitars 50 times. I would be sleeping or I would come back home from a party, maybe drunk, and I would do another take. It was perfect. It was really beautiful working that way. Total freedom. So really cool to see somebody use the reel-to-reels, which seems like an ancient, archaic thing that's in the past. He was using it basically modern day in the last 2 decades. And then going straight to like a modern DAW. And just switching up their production style of the way they record stuff. Right. And it seemed like he loved it. Yeah. And I find myself loving that too. I love just being able to record again. Yeah. Let me try that take one more time. Yeah. Everything, it's all good. Yeah. Recording with a band. Yeah. It's all good. Overdubs. I love it all. But there's different kind of value you can take from the different techniques.
Yeah. There's so many different schools of thought, perspectives, struggles when it comes to all that. I think I've mentioned it before about my struggle of going from listening to music when recording it to staring at it on a computer screen. Yeah. I really don't like that. At least not in the band sense, because, you can go into the computer and work on beats and waveforms and you need the visual thing to do it kind of thing. But if you're just recording like rock music or band music, it's really sort of sometimes counterintuitive and distracting. Right. Like seeing the computer screen. Like, even though I got suggested to me a video from a guy that mixed one of Kate Trinada's tracks. And he was doing like a breakdown of his mix. And he said the same thing. Like, he's like an older guy, but he's like mixing this like hip hop sampled like beat. And he was like, yeah, I can't look at the computer. Right? You sometimes got to put your head down and like listen, sort of thing. Like,
That's cool though. That's cool. Having that control.
Yeah.
And having that idea that like, oh, I'm gonna not look at that because it's gonna be more valuable for the music if I don't look at this. Yeah. So interesting.
It's like pros and cons. It's like this.
But what's most important, I think, is what you want to do, like what you want to accomplish. And if you have conviction over that idea, then you can choose one of the paths. Should I use a reel-to-reel and a 4-track? Yeah. Or should I use Pro Tools and re-record everything? Should I use a band? Should I just re-record everything myself?
Yeah, it should be really at the end of the day is like sticking true to the vision and not letting the technology impede.
That's what I'm saying. You can go either route.
You can go either route and make it work for you. And if you have meet a brick wall or a struggle, work within that. Or like we've talked a lot, not so recently, but in the past, about a lot of artists that have created restrictions for themselves.
Yeah.
Put themselves in a box, so they don't have the entire candy store to work with. They only have like a small little palette of things to work with.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that adults use on children, like to help them control. Like, do you want to put on your red shoes or your blue shoes right now, little kid? Like, I'm not asking the kid if he wants to put on shoes.
Right.
I'm asking him which ones he wants to put on. So it feels like he has a choice, and he does.
Yeah.
But either way, I get what I want, which is him putting any shoes on.
Right.
So it's psychology.
Yeah.
And how do we can accomplish things using psychology by psychologizing ourselves. Psychologizing. I think it's a word, guys. Okay, just roll with me.
Psychoanalyzing.
Yeah, there you go. But like using psychoanalysis to make changes in your process.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny because I realized I've been in some times trying to write music, I've been telling myself, I can't do this kind of thing. And then as soon as I removed that notion from my head, I was like, I could move forward and do it kind of thing.
Yeah, but you're like, but I can't.
Because I was putting my own mental block in place, telling myself that I couldn't do it for some reason. And it's like, as long as I said, it's like, wait a minute, you can do this, you can figure it out. Like, and then it's like, oh, okay. So it's with all this technology and making music and writing, it's like if you're met with a barrier, you either work with it, within it, or see it as not a barrier but an opportunity or a challenge. Go through it.
So good.
Yeah. I don't know. Wow. Jesus.
I'm inspired.
I've been struggling on this episode to talk about Holydrug, but I've like dropped a couple of nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, you're dropping. I love it.
Maybe it's the psychedelic music of Holydrug Company that's opening up.
I think it is.
Areas in my brain right
New
now.
neural pathways in Jay's brain today.
Yeah.
From the Holydrug Couple. But yeah, okay, so we're talking about Yeah, that was Noctuary.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about Moonlust. This is the next album they come out with. What is that, 2015?
Yes.
I'm just saying by memory, thank you.
Yeah.
So this is where I came in and discovered Holydrug Couple.
Yeah.
Like I said at the beginning of the episode, just it came up at some point, and I like low-key fell in love. Like these aren't like my favorite band, but I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. Like I fell in like.
You fell in like.
You know what I mean? No, but these guys are really great, and I love this album.
Yeah.
It's bold, psych rock. It's a psych rock endeavor. Mm-hmm. A step in the evolution of dream pop, creating a sense of transparentness, space, romanticism. I'm just reading my notes. And the need for infusing a sense of clarity and privacy into our beings. So that's what I wrote down about that album. It marks a little bit of a change because they were using a little bit more synths in this one. We heard the first track we played, our intro track for the podcast was, very synth heavy. And I think pretty much the whole album is like that. They moved away from guitars and did some more synth stuff. And I guess I think it was Ives. He said it was a definitive album that he wanted to do, like for himself. He said like 15 years ago, it was like for his teenage self. So he was exploring like melancholic feelings, romantic feelings, beauty, sensuality, darkness, romanticism. I recommend playing it from the beginning to the end. All the way through. I think that's how he meant it to be listened to as well. I think I just want to say this one last thing about this album. An interview was asking him if you can just describe this album in 3 words. He said, peacocks, absinthe, willow.
Interesting.
I could see the absinthe.
Is it willow for the smell, the look?
Your guess is as good as mine, sir.
I've only done absinthe once. Twice.
Done it?
No, I'm like sitting there reeling up. It's like, I never done much. Oh, yeah.
Well,
I never
that
did
one time. And that one, you remember that one? I've seen
Jesus. self-confessional.
I've seen things.
This is a self-confessional episode. Oh my
Yeah.
god, what are you doing to me, Holydrug Company?
Hey,
Couple.
They're getting us vulnerable.
We've only played like 2 of their tracks, and they're already getting to us.
Yeah, we should probably play another track right now.
Yeah, which one?
Let's play the other track that we have loaded up off of Moonlust.
Light or Night?
So we'll get a taste off this. This is my favorite one by them. I would recommend starting to listen to Moonlust first. Tell me what you guys think. Here we go.
Light or Night from the Holydrug Couple, their album Moonlust. On Roots to Grooves with me, Jay Purcell, and Jesse Quigley.
That's me.
Tame Impala vibes a little bit on that track.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Really nice sound.
Mm-hmm.
I was something else that I think Ives, again, I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, said about this album is the Virgin Suicides soundtrack by Air.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was a movie that Sofia Coppola did a long time ago now. Not sure when it came out. But Air did, a whole original soundtrack to it. and I really like that album as well.
Air, the
band,
the
French,
English rock band.
No, the French. I wouldn't
French.
call them a rock band. What would you call them? Dream pop, French pop, chill pop, down tempo, electronica, air. And yeah, they're
France is in England, right?
Oh jeez. Well, you've been watching too much South Park.
Everything.
French people piss me off. The British people, yeah.
I'm just saying everything on that side of the Atlantic Ocean is England.
Yeah. Well,
Until you get to China.
Europe, but now we're not in Europe anymore. We just disassociate. We just dismembered ourselves, and now we're floating out to sea.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that ignorant to geography. I just like to play it up that I'm completely ignorant.
But you thought Mount Machu Picchu was in Chile, and you couldn't pronounce it either.
That was you, sir. That was you, sir.
I was trying to deflect. I was trying to make myself put myself in a better light.
Playing a little game here. Playing a little game. I don't know who's winning. Let us know.
But yeah, that was a good album, and he said it was indirectly. He said it wasn't directly influenced, but it was like Virgin Suicides was an album he listened to a lot when it first came out, kind of thing, and just the mood, I think, and the vibe of that album, because it is very, down tempo-y. Charlotte Gainsbourg stuff. Well, she actually worked with Air. Air had the sound, I guess, like there's sort of tight sounding drums, the sort of wistfulness, the interesting melodies, like the electronica moments.
Just kind of a general soft palette, like chill, not harsh.
Yeah, and I think the Virgin Suicide soundtrack was more like acoustic guitar led versus like in their later stuff they've added more electronics and synths. But the Virgin Suicide soundtrack was more like sort of down tempo acoustic soul kind of.
I mean, that's how you describe Air, as like down tempo.
Yeah,
let's say.
Yeah. I mean, they're very interesting. Like they're like really inspiring to me. I think one of the guys from Air did a whole Red Bull Music Lab interview once. I think you can find it on YouTube. It's like 40 minutes long. Really super inspiring and interesting to hear him talk about his approach and music, and like there's that famous bass line from I think the first album, Moon Safari. It's really like a melodic bass line, and how he talked about just coming up with that out of nowhere on the spot kind of thing, and it was just like, oh,
I could hear the bass line in my head.
Yeah,
right now.
you know the one. Yeah,
yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, Air is, they're kind of down tempo, like 07's in there, kind of down tempo.
Yeah.
So I mean, anyway, but good stuff.
Yeah,
Moonlust is great.
Yeah,
I like the vibe. I feel like this is where they kind of, at that point at least peaked with their, like what they're trying to accomplish as a band. Their sound is like the best it's been. The general vibe, and as just a work of art, Moonlust is well rounded and great.
Yeah.
So I would listen to that for sure. And then they just keep going. Soundtrack for Pantanal.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to play off of that one.
That was again another artist that's done an imaginary soundtrack, right? It wasn't for a real film. It was like an imaginary movie.
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, and they were asked if they would want to do a movie soundtrack, and they said yes. I think there's something there they would love to do, aspire to.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like they'll be able to.
Yeah.
At some point too. I think these guys there's still more stuff coming out. Like even if they have a lot of stuff already out.
Yeah.
I still feel like these guys are still going to do something bigger.
Yeah. You would think. I mean, I don't know how the COVID thing impacted them. It seems like they were pretty underground, and then it also sounds like they love living in Chile and Santiago.
Yeah, like if they wanted to move to the U.S., it seems like they would have done that already.
Yeah, I feel like they just kind of and I think I saw something out there about like how they kind of got homesick from touring and couldn't wait to get back home. Like they're both very like much rooted there, I think. And I've never been there. I don't know what it's like.
That's fair.
But, yeah. Home is for a lot of people.
Home is where the
thing.
heart is.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Home is where you can smoke pot without getting in trouble.
Yeah. Except if you live with your parents.
Yeah, in the basement. Yeah. I don't really have any info on soundtrack for Pantanal.
Me neither.
But then next up they come out with Hyper Super Mega, which is like I think their latest full length LP.
Yeah.
That came out like 2019 or something.
Yeah.
And then nice, I'm getting some of these numbers. This is just off the top of my head, so I'm glad. But that one's like
2018. Sorry.
oh my, now you correct me. God. I almost looked cool in front of our
I just agree with
listeners.
you. And then I was like, let me look it up. I don't know. So, yeah.
Thank you for correcting me, sir.
Yeah.
But Hyper Super Mega, that album feels like it's a little bit next level for me, like production wise. It just feels next level for them. It's an amalgamation of like their synth stuff and guitar stuff, and it just sounds really good.
Well,
I don't know if we have a track off to play out. This is, but basically this is all I have on Holydrug Couple.
Yeah.
That I really wanted to touch on.
yeah.
Moonlust is the main thing that I want everybody to be aware of.
Yeah.
And if you get into that and you like that at all, then I'd recommend getting into these other albums and checking these guys out for sure.
Yeah.
But as a starting place, Moonlust, cool name too.
Yeah.
But Hyper Super Mega, we have one track that I loaded up for this one.
We do.
Do you want
to play out?
Ooh. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Anything else on Holydrug Couple, Jay?
No, this one has been a bit challenging to convey.
There's not a lot of literature or English interviews.
Not a lot of material out there about them other than their music. They have a big body of work,
Right.
multiple albums. They just dropped a new single this year.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
So it's been like since 2018 since their last album. So it's good to see that they dropped a single because that is an indicator of maybe some new stuff coming out.
Yeah. Generally, these guys are far away. They're based in Chile.
Yeah.
They don't fully speak English, like that's not their first language at least.
Yeah.
And they don't live here anymore.
Yeah.
So they're pretty underground in general,
Yeah.
but very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what the point of what I was saying is, but I think we're trying to make excuses for why we don't have that much information on them, but there's just not that much out there.
Yeah.
But we're not trying to be comprehensive. We're just trying to give everybody a general idea that there's a cool band out there from Chile that you guys should listen to.
Yeah, I never heard of them, and I'm super excited to know of these tracks now and these albums, and it makes me kind of want to go to Santiago and see what's up
And just do a week down there of psych shows.
Yeah, just go hang out with these guys and see what shows they're going to and things. It's the way they talk about it, they're just super chill. It just sounds like
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we
I
just
wanna
go out and we do that and we
chill and make some music with these guys. Like,
yeah.
You guys hit us up, Holydrug.
Yeah, Holydrug.
We will come. Me and Jay will come down to Chile and say what's up.
Yeah,
We want to hang. We'll buy you a beer.
yeah, we will.
That's a deal.
That's a deal. Just send us an email, right?
You got
Like everyone else can.
Everyone hits us up all the time at the email, and if you hit us up, we'll read it on the air. But give us some critiques. Let us know what you want to add to the format, what we're missing, what corrections you have for us, why you hate us, why you love us. Give us the email, Jay.
Roots to Grooves at signalradio.com. That's SIGNL radio.com.
Roots to Grooves is a production of Signl Radio. For more music and independent culture, visit signalradio.com. That's signl radio.com.